want to talk about the Orchard Audio Starkrimson Mono Ultra Premium monoblock amplifiers. These things are ultra powerful. 500 watts per channel into 4 ohms, double that for peaks, right? These are stable down to 2 ohm loads. These are GaN amplifiers, gallium nitride amplifiers, Class D, but these amplifiers are quite special indeed. I want to talk about these here in this video. If you're looking for your next power amp and you're looking for something that is clean and clear, yet smooth, with amazing bass presence and punch, killer dynamic, such a sweet vocal mid-range presence, and a non-aggressive top end. If you're looking for something like that and the ability to power any speaker made, you're going to want to watch today's video. So I received these mono amps from Orchard Audio, the Starkrimson Mono Ultra Premiums. I received them quite a few weeks ago, and I've been listening to them, hanging on to them here because I wanted to hear them with as many speakers as possible. So let's just start off being quick right off the bat without too much babbling on. Why would you want these amplifiers for your hi-fi audio system? First of all, they're amazingly powerful. These are GaN amplifiers, Class D, but don't mistake these for Class D amplifiers from a decade ago. These have a beautiful sound that I'm going to get into here in a minute, but these can drive any speaker on the planet. 500 watts per channel rated at into 4 ohms, right? 250 watts into 8 ohms. I believe they're rated to 250 watts into 2 ohms. So these have immense power and can drive any speaker on the planet. Why else would someone be interested in a set of amplifiers like this? Another reason is these are some of the lowest noise amplifiers I've ever heard. I've heard other amps that equal these when it comes to the lack of noise. There's literally no audible noise coming from these. When you turn them on, they're as silent as when they're powered off. When they're powered off, they're as silent as when you unplug them from the wall. These make absolute zero noise and they run cool. They don't run hot at all. So extremely low noise, extremely low distortion. These are things you're not even going to hear because they're really non-existent. So that's an awesome thing with these amplifiers. Not only can they drive any speaker, but they are quiet and they run cool. So these will run cool and stay as quiet as can be. So another positive is these amplifiers are fully balanced from input to output. Now this, of course, may help with the low noise of these amplifiers, but it's not the full picture. These amps are designed in a way, and any GaN amp that I really heard has been really super quiet. That's a positive of this Class D architecture in an amp like this. Another positive of these amps is they're only 13 pounds each, and some people equate weight and solidity and heaviness with quality, and that is just not the case. Over the years, I've learned that some of the finest sounding amplifiers that I've had through these doors have been small and light. So before I get into the sound impressions, what are things that you may not like? I'm just going to throw out a couple of cons right now. One might be that it only has an XLR input, right? There's no RCA. So those of you who only use RCA, single-ended connections, you're not going to be able to just plug your RCA into these amps without an adapter. Also, some might feel the design, the appearance is a little bit plain Jane. The front looks kind of cool because it's got a slanted faceplate, but that faceplate is really plain. There's no lights. There's not even a light to show you that they're powered on. They're just plain. On the top of this, of each amp, is the Orchard Audio logo that is carved into the metal. And I think it looks pretty cool. It's a big tree. It says Orchard Audio. You know, some people might not like that design or that big graphic on top. I kind of thought it was pretty cool. I like unique products, and having that logo on the top of it kind of makes it more unique in appearance, in my opinion. So some may feel the appearance is a little plain, but others may fall in love with them because of that plain appearance. I happen to think they look really, really cool in the configuration I have them set up with right now. All right, so what do these amplifiers sound like? Rather amazing. In addition to all of those pros I talked about, being super powerful to power any speaker, having zero noise or really distortion that's audible, These are super lightweight. They run cool, right? There's so many positives about this amplifier, but if they don't sound good, if they don't deliver that magic in the sound, then none of that really matters, right? So I've been listening to these for several weeks, and they have become some of the finest amplifiers that I've ever experienced. Now, last year I reviewed amps from AGD, right? Now, these are Class D GAN amps from AGD. The design is beautiful. I reviewed the Duets and the Audion Mark IIIs, I think it was, and I fell in love with those amplifiers. Now, the Duets are 10 grand a pair. The Orchard Audio Starkrimsons Ultra Premiums are $49.99, 5 grand a pair. How do these differ? Well, the AGDs have a more blingy design. I had the stainless polished, I should say the polished version of the Duets. They had the nice glowy red light, which served as the power button on the front. They were very beautiful in looks. The Orchard Audios, again, they're more plain. They don't have anything fancy or anything, there's no meters, there's no lights, there's no LEDs, so they're more plain. As far as the sound, those $10,000 AGD Duets were beautiful in the sound, and their claim to fame was really their clarity and their openness. And I find that to be a trait among most Class D GAN amps that I have heard. And of all these I have heard, I do prefer GAN technology versus standard Class D technology. They just seem to have a little bit more organic life to them, more of a tube-like flavor. And those AGD Duets had some of that. Now, the Orchard Audio amps have a similar vibe to the AGDs, but they're a little bit warmer. So I'm finding the bass of the Orchard amps to be extraordinary. I think the bass of the Orchard surpassed the AGDs. The AGDs might have a little more forwardness and shine in the treble, right? Where the Orchards are a little bit smoother. I will say this about the Orchards. They're so clean and clear. They provide a really beautiful soundstage that is pretty wide, but also has depth, so front to back soundstage. The detail here is amazing, yet there's an overall bit of smoothness, right, from top to bottom that makes these so pleasing to listen to. The AGDs, for example, were a little more ruthless when it came to the detail extraction and that upper end. Beautiful, beautiful sounds if you love details and that is your thing. And those AGDs also had a little bit of tube flavor in the mids, but the Orchard, I feel, has a little bit more of that. So another feature of these amps that I hear often in high-end amps, I'm talking 10K and up amps is where I usually hear this. If you turn up the volume really loud, you're going to hear the same character. You're not going to hear distortion or crackles. When you turn up these amps, everything just gets bigger, more so than louder. And that's really, really cool because I hear that in these very refined, very high-end amplifiers. And talking about high-end amplifiers, I've been comparing these $5,000 monoblocks, Class D GAN, to my Nagra Classic amp, which is a Class A, Class AB amp. The first 10 watts run in Class A and the rest is Class AB. Now the Nagra amp puts out 100 watts per channel into 8 ohms. I think it doubles down into 4 ohms, 200 watts per channel. Now I've been comparing these and the Nagra has a little bit more shine up top, right? And a little bit more three-dimensionality in the mid-range. The vocals come out a little more with the Nagra, but keep in mind the Nagra's it's about $20,000 retail. So it's 4 times the cost of the Orchard amps, and the Nagra is a stereo amp. It's not a monoblock. You can add another one and make them mono amps, but that'll set you back 40 grand. There were things I liked about the Orchard amps better than the Nagra, and there were some things I liked on the Nagra better than the Orchard. But I will say this, the Orchard Audio Starkrimson Mono Premium Ultras are even quieter than the Nagra amp. When I turn on the Nagra amp, if I plug it into the wall, I'll hear a little bit of transformer noise. It settles down after a few minutes. But again, plugging in those Orchard amps, zero noise. Now the Nagra amp, I usually never push it past Class A, and sometimes it can run a little hot. It doesn't heat the room, but if I put my hand on top, it feels pretty warm and toasty. Again, the Orchard amps, I could put my hand on top and be like, oh, I feel a little slight bit of warmth, but that's about it. Again, the treble of the Nagra Classic was a little more sparkly and alive. The mid-range vocals especially were a little more three-dimensional. Other than that, the Orchard's audio amps were a little smoother, a little more impactful because of that massive power they have on tap, and a little more effortless. So yeah, it's not a case where, hey, I love this $20,000 amp so much more than this $5,000 set of amps. I actually love them quite equally. I could live with either in my reference system. That's how good these Orchard audio amps are. Now, what did I run these with? I did try it with my Nagra HD preamp. This is the latest version from Nagra, the HV version. And they sounded really good, but amazingly somehow, and I think it's due to a gain thing, the Nagra preamp is low gain, and I think the Orchard audios are a bit on the low gain side. So with the Nagra preamp, I had to turn up the volume pretty high to get mid-level volume. So I took out the Nagra preamp and I placed in the new EverSolo DMP A6 Gen 2 Master Edition, which I received a couple weeks ago. I placed that in the system using it as a preamp, streamer, and DAC, and this thing's $13.99, and I plugged those via XLR into the Starkrimson amps. Now this was all hooked up to the Icon 12s, right, from Audio, and away I went. I was expecting to be a little let down compared to the Nagra stack, but here I was at EverSolo providing the streaming preamp and DAC into those Class D GAN amps, going to the Icon 12s, and I was literally, my jaw was dropping on the floor. There was nothing about this sound that made me say, ooh, I got to put the Nagra back in. Think about that for a minute. This is providing just as pleasing, beautiful, magical of a sound as the big money Nagra stack was doing with the same speakers. That's pretty crazy. Now, there were differences. The Nagra was even more open, more transparent, more sparkly. Yes, there are differences. But these differences are tiny in the big picture, right? The cost that you can get the Orchard amps and that little EverSolo A6 Gen 2 Master Edition, which is, well, I don't want to say it yet. I'm going to have a review of that piece soon. But there's something I want to say about that piece that's pretty remarkable. That setup going into the Icon 12s was pure magic. I then took out the Icon 12s because those speakers seemed to sound good and magical with almost any amplification. I put in the Buchardt E50s. These are the brand new bookshelves from Buchardt. Buchardt states these are their masterpiece speakers. They've worked on them for a long time. They are beautiful in so many ways. So these Buchardts are 85 dB efficient, right up the alley, a little harder to drive going by the specs. They're between 4 and 6 ohms, a perfect match for the Orchard audio amps. I sat back and again, my jaw dropped because these Buchardts E50s were sounding even better in this room with the EverSolo and the Orchard amps versus the full Nagra setup. And I was like scratching my head. And it's just a synergy thing, right? Some products sound better with some products. Some products don't sound as good with other products. So once you find that synergy, it's pretty amazing. And I tried these E50s with many different amplifiers. This is how I've been doing my evaluation of the E50s with those Starkrimson Mono Ultras and the EverSolo A6 Gen 2 Master Edition. The sound is just remarkable. The sound is high-end, detailed, airy, three-dimensional, and beautiful. These E50s are indeed, in my opinion, I'll tell you this already, Buchardt's finest passive speaker that they have made. Even though I really love the GAN sound, the Class D GAN sound, and I've loved it, the best I've heard was with these Orchards and with the AGD amps, I still love Class A amps. I still love Class AB amps. They all have their pros and cons, but there's more pros than cons with this new GAN technology in the Class D amp life. Now, I said in my AGD review, I might have said this, I think I said this, that this is the way of the future for amplifiers because of all those reasons I stated in the beginning. it's incredible to have a lightweight box that runs cool and produces no noise or heat, yet it can power any speaker made and sound incredible, up to exotic amp level incredible. Really, if you put these monos in a fancy casing and made them, you know, in Denmark or Switzerland or somewhere like that, they'd be quadruple the price, at least double. So I'm giving 2 big thumbs ups to the Orchard Audio Starkrimson Mono Ultra Premium amplifiers. Yeah, they're $5,000, but these are amps that will last a long, long time. For some people, they will be pure endgame amps. Go to the Orchard Audio website, check out their information. I'll put a link below. And there's also user reviews there. You can read reviews. They also sell a stereo version of the amp for less money, and it has a built-in RCA to XLR conversion setup or some deal going on, so you can still use RCAs with it. So that might be something that some of you are interested in. They also seem to have a sale right now. It was on their website. They have the smaller version of these mono blocks, and they're $9.99 a piece right now. I have not heard those, and they bring and offer less power, but they're more of the size of those AGD duets looking at the picture. So they have options. Orchard also sells a streamer, a DAC, and other products, so be sure to check them out. So overall, I was extremely pleased with these amplifiers. There were many nights I was sitting here listening, whether it was with the E50s, the Pure Audio Project Duet 15s, which also sounded beautiful with these amplifiers, whether it was the Icon 12s or some other speaker I had in here. I tried these with the Diptyque 115s. I tried these with the EPO Sound Deimos Red Millennium Black Oaks. I tried these with every speaker that has come in here over the last couple of months, and it has excelled with every single one of them. I cannot think of really any real negative to these. The price is right. Again, some may prefer a more blinged out design. These are a little plainer in the design. But that's about it. I can't think of any negatives. They're XLR balanced only, but that just helps make them sound as good as they do, in my opinion. Yeah, I was very happy with my experience with the Orchard amps. If I was flush with cash, I would buy these amps because I'd like to keep them in the system right now. They just sound so good, especially with that little EverSolo DMP A6 Mark II. If you're someone looking for a full system that brings high-end, beautiful, immersive sound, and you want to spend under 10 grand, check out the Starkrimson Mono Premium Ultras. Check out the EverSolo DMP A6 Mark II Gen 2 Master Edition. And also check out the Buchardt E50 speakers, around between 10 and 11,000. And that is a full synergistic, amazing sounding setup for a small to mid-size room. I'm going to shut this down. I'm going to box these up, get them ready to go back to Orchard. A tear might come down my eye. Just kidding. But if you like this video, thumbs up and subscribe. I have a lot more coming soon. Those Buchardt E50s, that EverSolo. I have some new stuff from Modrite on the way. A few other things too that are going to be a surprise. So thank you for watching. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next one.